There is a name inside your family. Not a nickname, not an inherited quirk, a name that once meant a crown. Somewhere in the last 1,000 years, an ancestor of yours may have carried a surname stitched directly into the royal fabric of the British Isles. And the strangest part is this: no one ever told you which one. Historians know. Genealogists know. The College of Arms in London has traced these names for centuries. But the connection between an ordinary American surname and a British royal dynasty has been buried under time, migration, and forgetting. Today, we uncovered 10 British surnames that point straight back to a specific royal house, not noble families, not distant cousins of power, royal dynasties, the bloodlines that wore the crown. And by the end of this video, you may discover that the name on your driver's license was carried by a king who rewrote the map of Europe. Stay until number 1, because it belongs to the dynasty that ruled England longer than any other, and its surname is still found across America today. Let us begin the descent. From number 10, we move down to number 1, and the deeper we go, the closer the crown. Number 10. Godwin. Before the Normans came, before the towers of London were even a whisper, one Anglo-Saxon family stood higher than any other in the kingdom: the Godwins. The name comes from the Old English Godwine, meaning God-friend, and the family was raised from obscurity by Canute the Great, the Danish king who wore the English crown in the early 11th century. Canute made Godwin the first Earl of Wessex around 1020, and from that day forward, the House of Godwin was the most powerful family in England below the throne itself. Then came the moment history remembers. On January 6, 1066, Godwin's son Harold Godwinson was crowned King of the English, the last crowned Anglo-Saxon king. 9 months later, on October 14th, he stood at Senlac Hill against William, Duke of Normandy. He fell in the mud, killed by a Norman arrow or sword, and with him fell an age. The Anglo-Saxon crown was gone forever, but the name did not die. It scattered. It migrated. It rode with English yeomen into the American colonies. Today, Godwin remains a surname carried by tens of thousands of Americans. Some descend from other bearers of the Old English name. Others carry a memory older than the conquest itself. If your name is Godwin, your bloodline may carry the echo of the last crowned Saxon king to wear the English crown. Number 9. Fitzroy. There is one British surname that literally translates as son of the king. Fitzroy, from the Anglo-Norman Fitz, meaning son of, and Roy, meaning king. It was not given to every royal child. It was given to one specific kind: the acknowledged illegitimate son of a reigning monarch. When a king could not marry the woman he loved, or already had a queen, the child born of that union was often marked forever with this Norman-French brand. Fitzroy. The list of Fitzroys reads like a shadow history of the English crown. Robert Fitzroy, the illegitimate son of Henry I, became Earl of Gloucester and a decisive force in the 12th century Civil War, known as the Anarchy. Henry Fitzroy, the only acknowledged bastard of Henry VIII, was made Duke of Richmond and Somerset before dying at 17. And in the 17th century, King Charles II acknowledged so many illegitimate sons that the Fitzroy line became a dynasty in its own right. His son Henry Fitzroy became the first Duke of Grafton, and the title passes down that same male line to this very day. That means the current Duke of Grafton, born in 1978, is a direct male line descendant of a Stewart king who sat on the throne of England in the 1600s. There is no other British surname that survives on so many public monuments and estate deeds as a mark of recognized royal blood. Every American Fitzroy shares the surname of a bloodline the crown could recognize, but never fully legitimize. If your name is Fitzroy, your bloodline may carry the acknowledged blood of a British king who could never call you legitimate. Number 8. Beaufort. Behind every royal dynasty is one bloodline that put the crown on the king's head. For the Tudors, that bloodline was Beaufort. The surname comes from the Château de Beaufort, a fortress in Anjou, owned by John of Gaunt, the third surviving son of King Edward III. Gaunt had a mistress named Catherine Swynford, and together they had 4 children born outside marriage. But in 1396, Gaunt married Catherine. And in 1397, their 4 children were legitimized twice, first by a papal bull from Pope Boniface IX, and then by an act of the English Parliament. The Beauforts were now royal blood. They rose fast. They married into the highest ranks of the kingdom. They fought as staunch Lancastrians through the Wars of the Roses, and one of them, a determined woman named Lady Margaret Beaufort, carried the Lancastrian claim to the throne inside her own body. Her son was Henry Tudor. In 1485, he crossed the Welsh coast, marched into England, and killed Richard III at Bosworth Field. He became Henry VII. The Tudor dynasty had begun, and it began because of Beaufort. Every American Beaufort inherits the name of the family that legitimized itself into royal power, and then handed the English crown to its own descendant. If your name is Beaufort, your bloodline may carry the legitimized fire that placed the Tudor crown on English soil. The next 7 surnames climb higher, into the actual bloodlines that sat on the throne. Subscribe now before we continue. Because the further we descend, the closer we come to the crown, and there is a real chance the number 1 name is one you have been carrying your whole life. Number 7. Mortimer. If you asked a 15th century Englishman which family had the true senior claim to the crown of England, the answer might not have been Lancaster. It might have been Mortimer. The name is Norman, from a village called Mortimer in Normandy, and the Mortimers came to England with the Conqueror. Over 3 centuries, they built one of the greatest marcher lordships on the Welsh border, and in 1327, Roger Mortimer helped overthrow Edward II and rule England as the lover of Queen Isabella. But the real Mortimer story is a bloodline. A woman named Anne Mortimer was descended from Lionel of Antwerp, the second surviving son of King Edward III. Under the medieval rules of royal descent, her claim to the crown was arguably senior to that of the Lancastrians, who descended from Edward's 3rd son, John of Gaunt. Anne married Richard, Earl of Cambridge. Their son was Richard, Duke of York. That is how the Yorkist claim to the throne of England was born. Not through the male York line, but through the female Mortimer line. Every Yorkist king, Edward IV, Edward V, Richard III, wore the crown because of the blood their grandmother Anne Mortimer had carried into their family. If your name is Mortimer, your bloodline may carry the senior claim that reshaped the throne of England. Number 6. Neville. There is one family in English history whose members did not need to wear the crown, because they decided who did. The Nevilles. Norman in origin, they rose through Yorkshire and Durham to become the most powerful noble house in northern England by the 15th century. And when the Wars of the Roses erupted, one Neville stood at the center of every battlefield that mattered. His name was Richard Neville, 16th Earl of Warwick. History remembers him by one word: kingmaker. In 1461, he helped depose the Lancastrian king Henry VI and place his cousin Edward IV on the throne. 9 years later, he switched sides, forced Edward into exile, and restored Henry VI. Then he died at the Battle of Barnet in 1471, killed by the very king he had once crowned. But the Neville power did not end there. Warwick's aunt was Cecily Neville. Cecily married Richard, Duke of York, and gave birth to 2 kings of England, Edward IV and Richard III. She was the mother of the entire Yorkist crown. Every Yorkist monarch of England, every White Rose king, was half Neville by blood. If your name is Neville, your bloodline may carry the hidden hand that made and unmade the kings of the Roses. Number 5. Lancaster. Some surnames come from villages. Some come from crowns. Lancaster comes from both. The name derives from the town and county of Lancaster in northwest England, and in the 14th century it became the name of the greatest cadet branch of the Plantagenet royal family. John of Gaunt, Duke of Lancaster, the third surviving son of Edward III, made Lancaster the wealthiest ducal house in the kingdom. His son Henry Bolingbroke rose in rebellion in 1399 and deposed his cousin Richard II. Henry became Henry IV. And the House of Lancaster wore the crown of England. For 60 years, Lancaster ruled. Henry IV held the throne. Henry V crushed the French at Agincourt in 1415 and became one of the greatest warrior kings in English memory. Henry VI inherited the crowns of England and France as a baby and lost them both to madness and civil war. The Red Rose of Lancaster became the symbol of a dynasty stitched into the identity of northern England for centuries. The surname Lancaster was carried by townsmen and yeomen who claimed the same county as the royal duchy. Some crossed the Atlantic and became American Lancasters. Others still live in the shadow of the castle their name once described. If your name is Lancaster, your bloodline may carry the red rose fire of a dynasty that ruled through 3 warrior kings. Number 4. Bruce. North of the border, one royal house rose from a Norman knight and ended with the liberation of a nation. The name is Bruce. It comes from the village of Brix in Normandy, and the founder of the line, Robert de Bruce, came to England soon after the conquest. His son received the lordship of Annandale from King David I of Scotland in the 12th century, and from that grant of borderland grew one of the most consequential royal families in British history. In 1306, his descendant Robert the Bruce was crowned King of Scots. He was excommunicated by the Pope, hunted by the English, and reduced at one point to hiding in a cave. Legend says he watched a spider weave a web and rebuild it every time it fell. Whether or not the story is true, his refusal to surrender changed history. In 1314, at Bannockburn, he shattered the army of Edward II of England and secured the throne of Scotland. In 1328, the Treaty of Northampton finally recognized Scottish independence. The Bruce line ruled Scotland for 2 generations. It ended when Robert's grandson, King David II, died without heirs in 1371. But the surname Bruce crossed the sea with Scottish settlers, spread through the Ulster plantations, and became one of the most recognized Scottish-American names in the world. It was carried by presidents and generals and preachers and coal miners across the American South and the industrial North. If your name is Bruce, your bloodline may carry the crown of the king who freed a nation and shattered an English army at Bannockburn. Number 3. Stewart, or Stewart. There is one royal surname that outlasted every other. It ruled Scotland for more than 3 centuries, then took the throne of England, then the throne of Great Britain, and it kept ruling until 1714. The name is Stewart, later spelled Stewart, and its origin is not a village or a battle. It is an office. In the 12th century, King David I of Scotland appointed a Breton Norman knight named Walter Fitz-Alan as his steward. The steward managed the royal household. Walter's son held the same office, and his grandson made it hereditary. Around that time, the family began signing their name as Stewart. In 1315, Walter Stewart, the 6th High Steward, married Marjorie Bruce, the daughter of Robert the Bruce. Their son was Robert Stewart. And in 1371, after the death of his childless uncle David II, Robert became King Robert II, the first Stuart king of Scotland. For the next 343 years, the Stuart line held a throne somewhere in the British Isles. James VI of Scotland became James I of England in 1603. Charles I lost his head. Charles II came home. And Anne, the last Stuart monarch, died in 1714. Mary, Queen of Scots, had already changed the spelling to Stewart in the French style. Both spellings survive. If your name is Stewart or Stewart, your bloodline may carry the longest royal thread ever woven through the British Isles. Number 2. Tudor. There is a name in British history that means king in the language of the men who invented it. That name is Tudor. It comes from the Welsh Tudor, itself descended from an old Brythonic word meaning ruler of the people. The Tudors of Penmynnydd on the island of Anglesey were an ancient Welsh family, and one of them, a man named Owen Tudor, walked into the English royal court in the 15th century and changed history without ever wearing a crown himself. Owen served as keeper of the wardrobe to Catherine of Valois, the widow of King Henry V. They fell in love. They married in secret, most likely around 1428. Their sons carried royal Valois blood through their mother, and ancient Welsh princely blood through their father. Owen was later captured at the Battle of Mortimer's Cross and beheaded in 1461. But his grandson, Henry Tudor, sailed for England, marched to Bosworth Field, killed Richard III, and took the crown as Henry VII in 1485. What followed was a dynasty that made England modern. Henry VIII broke with Rome and forged the Church of England. Elizabeth I defeated the Spanish Armada and lit the fuse of a global empire. The Tudor rose became the symbol of English identity for the rest of history, and the surname Tudor still belongs to Welsh families and their American descendants today. If your name is Tudor, your bloodline may carry the golden fire of the dynasty that forged modern England. Number 1. Plantagenet. We have reached the top of the countdown, and this final surname is the oldest, the deepest, and the most consequential of them all. Plantagenet, the dynasty that ruled England longer than any other. From the accession of Henry II in 1154 to the death of Richard III at Bosworth Field in 1485, the Plantagenet kings held the English crown for 331 unbroken years. The name itself is a legend. It comes from the Latin Plantagenista, a sprig of common broom that Geoffrey of Anjou, father of Henry II, wore in his cap as a badge. From that yellow flower grew a dynasty of 14 kings. Henry II built the foundations of English common law. Richard the Lionheart rode to the Holy Land on the Third Crusade. King John was forced to seal Magna Carta at Runnymede in 1215. Edward I conquered Wales and hammered Scotland. Edward III launched the 100 Years' War. Henry V crushed the French at Agincourt, and every one of them signed his name inside the same royal house. The cadet branches of Plantagenet were York and Lancaster. When they turned on each other in the Wars of the Roses, they were fighting a family civil war under two different colored roses. The blood on both sides was the same blood. It was Plantagenet blood. When Richard III fell at Bosworth, 3 centuries of Plantagenet rule ended in a Leicestershire field. But the surname did not die. It was adopted by Richard, 3rd Duke of York, in the 15th century, and it survives today as one of the rarest and most sought-after surnames in the English-speaking world. Every reigning British monarch since Henry VII has descended from a Plantagenet ancestor. If your name is Plantagenet, your bloodline may carry the oldest crown ever worn on English soil. If your name is Plantagenet, tell us in the comments, and tell us which name on this list came closest to your own family name. Then subscribe, because the next royal bloodline we uncover may be the one hiding inside your own family tree, and you will not want to miss which crown it wore.